Hey guys, it's me, Alyssa. Time to get into this. I'm telling you, or I'm gonna try to tell you what it was like, my experience wise. Sorry, trying to fix that. What my experience was like being in CPS as a kid. I think I remember them saying I was in there for 2.5 years from what my family said, but it all started just randomly. I guess it all happened after when I was really little and stuff happened with my mom and what was going on back then, and her getting into arguments with my stepdad, which was my little sister and brother's dad, and always remembering hearing sirens and cops from them fighting, or mostly her fighting. But the last thing I remember was, I can't remember if it was my grandmother or my uncle that came to the house. They were both on the same lot and everything. Mom's house is here, Grandma's house is right here. So all I remember is being taken out of the house and around dark, like around 7, 8 o'clock at night, whatever time it was, seeing flashing red and blue lights outside, being put inside the house, grandmother's outside from what I remember and everything, and talking to the cops. I think at that point my mom was already in the police car in handcuffs, because I remember hearing yelling, which caused me to go to the window and start peeping through it as a little kid. Keep in mind, I was in elementary school, so this was like first, second grade, kindergarten, pre-K, around that age group. And it's little me, my little sister. My little brother was too short to even do anything. He was still an infant. But little sister's on her tiptoes trying to peep through the window with me. I'm peeping through the window. I hear my mother yelling, saying words that a little kid my age shouldn't be hearing. Seeing her get put in handcuffs, put in the car. All of a sudden, I felt someone pick me up from the window. It was my uncle when I was little. Didn't even know he already took my little sister away when I was still looking through the window. But while all that happened, I can't remember what happened after that because it was in the middle of the night. Don't really remember much after that, but for a good amount of time, I was raised by my grandmother as a little kid. After she passed, her son, which is my mother's little brother, her second brother. My mother is the oldest of 3. She was the only girl. My grandmother had 3 kids, her, my uncle, and then my other uncle. But it was the uncle that came down from, it was the first uncle that came down from Boston to try to raise us and everything. And after my grandmother passed, because she was in the process of trying to get custody of us from CPS. Didn't even know we were already in the system then as kids. But I do remember going to the prison as a little kid every now and then. Vaguely remember visiting my mom. Mostly it was me and my grandmother. Eventually my little sister did come along on a few of them, and so did my little brother. Still to this day, I sometimes have, or last time I remember visiting the prison was in junior high. I basically don't know what it's called, but I basically started freaking out by hyperventilating, started crying without knowing, and this was like on a school field trip. I didn't even know this was gonna happen. I vaguely remember stuff that happened because it was like years down the line after I got back out of CPS custody and everything. But I guess all that from a little kid caught up to me being in junior high and brought back memories and caused me to have a meltdown. Didn't help with kids making fun of me on the school bus while I'm sitting there hyperventilating, crying nonstop. Can't speak words correctly because I'm just freaking out so much. And it was like when the field trip was over when all this happened. Like it just happened all at once when we got on the bus. But I will get back into that story later on down the line. But yeah, me, my little sister and brother were in CPS for a while. Grandmother passed, was being raised by my older uncle, my mother's first brother, and stuff happened. How do I put this? He decided that he was going to try to get custody of us, or he was trying to get custody of us to keep us in the family and everything. Because that's usually how it is. When CPS gets involved, there's family members trying to make sure the kids stay in the family, so they're not losing more family members in like so many different ways. But somehow some members blame me, our caseworker at the time was blaming our family. Either way, it's like I don't know who to blame. Myself, because they were trying to blame one of my family members. I can't remember which one it was, but the way how they were trying to explain it to my siblings is how we got into this becoming children of the state, another word for saying CPS, but they were trying to explain it. One of my siblings took it the wrong way and was basically trying to blame me and everything, but it's all because CPS thinks that we got abused. All I vaguely remember was getting in trouble for lying about doing my homework, hiding it, and everything. That was the main reason why, and everything. And then I vaguely remember the last time I visited my mother, which was just me and my cousin, the now 5-year-old's mother. When we were little, we went to College Station, stayed overnight with my mom and her current boyfriend or roommate at the time. I don't know what it was. But we went ice skating. I guess from falling on the ice multiple times, I got bruises all over my rear end or butt, to just basically say it. But I guess it never caught up, and then still getting in trouble as a kid in elementary school, not wanting to do homework and everything, not wanting to stay after school for the programs that you're forced to go to by your guardians because you don't know anyone there and you hated being there, but they still made you stay and everything. There was a couple since my mom's first brother was in the process of trying to adopt us and to keep us in the family or anything, basically trying to get custody of us to stay in the family. There would be frequent visits from CPS where they'd come and visit us either at school or at home individually. Me and my siblings, my sister and brother were going to the same school. I was going to a different one. God forbid why they put me in a different school. I hated that school. Teacher and students would be rude and everything and say hurtful things that would basically lower my self-esteem even more as a kid, which caused me to be a shy kid so much back then because I didn't know how to really say anything to people without them being rude or just being straight blunt and saying this or that or actually trying to hit me because I would try to speak my mind. But I guess from the ice skating and then getting in trouble at home for not doing my homework and everything, it basically made the bruise hurt more, and they thought my uncle was abusing me and thought it was my siblings as well too he was abusing. So last thing I remember was us randomly packing up our stuff one day, and my uncle loaded us in the car, and that's all I vaguely remember. And then all of a sudden we're near NRG Stadium. I think that's what the stadium was, or the Toyota Center. I know it was some type of sports stadium. And that was like back when Astro World was still up and running and everything. And last thing I remember was us parking the car, walking out, me, my siblings. I'm carrying my small duffel bag that has a pug on it. I don't remember what my siblings were carrying, but we had giant suitcases as well. And then my uncle said a few things to us, which I can't remember. I can vaguely remember, like all I can remember is him standing in front of me in front of my siblings, talking to us, saying his last goodbyes. Because once you're in the system, it's really hard to get back with your family after stuff like that and everything. But I swear I probably heard him crying outside of the door and everything. But the caseworker later came in, and I guess I was crying because I could sense something was wrong. I still can't remember to this day what it was he said, but our caseworker came in and she handed me a stuffed animal that she had, which I don't have anymore because I got rid of it. Well, it had like a accident and everything. I guess she can tell that something's wrong because she decided to wake up and come to me. It's okay. But yeah, that was the last time I saw my family at the moment. Keep in mind, I was still in early elementary school. I think I was in 2nd grade. No, I was in 3rd grade. Yeah, I was in 3rd grade when all this happened. 3rd and 4th grade. But yeah, some family members blamed me. Caseworker blames family. The first foster home we were in, it was all 3 of us there. Me and my little sister would take turns who would sleep in a bed because the first foster home only had 2 beds in a girl bedroom, so there was already 1 girl there, and then me and my little sister would take turns whoever would sleep in the bed because we both couldn't fit in that bed and everything, so one of us would sleep in our sleeping bag on the floor. My little brother shared a room with a little kid and everything. I vaguely remember how that family was, but some of what I can remember is that they were really nice. I don't remember them being rude. My little brother was actually the first one to be taken out of there because of his anger issues. Last thing I remember was trying to get him to calm down when I guess we were coming back from somewhere and he decided to take his shoe off and throw it to the front before we even left the driveway. So, yeah, he was the first one gone. Then it was just me and my little sister. And then I guess they were saying that we got into it so many times, me and my little sister, but I remember some of the times, and that would be because she would throw something at me. And you know the first thing that happens when a kid throws something at another kid, that the kid who gets hit by that toy will go towards the kid and attack them. Yeah. I guess they've never seen that happen before, even amongst siblings. So, Then me and my little sister were out of that one, which started us being split up. But the good thing about the first foster home was that I learned a little bit of Spanish. Sadly, it did not stick with me as a kid. I know a little bit, but not much. The second one, uh, I was still in 3rd grade, I think. Yeah. Wait. Yeah, I was in 3rd grade. Because in the second foster home, that's when they realized, uh, when they realized that I had trouble seeing, but they didn't think about getting me glasses. So they just stuck when there was a new seating arrangement, they decided not to explain it to the teachers, and I would be sitting in the back of the classroom, can't see crap from the front of the classroom. So for some reason, they thought it would be smart to put the blind kid in the back of the classroom, which would cause me to have to get up every time and go sit on the floor and take notes that way. This foster home, which was the second and the last one I was in, it was me and 5 other kids. I stayed in this one until I got out of the system. In this foster home, we were having visits from my aunt, which is my grandmother's sister. The first one, it was also my grandmother's sister, but it was her youngest sibling. Sitting here trying to think things through. But yeah, first foster home, it was my grandmother's youngest little sister. And then second foster home, it's my aunt that I used to stay with in high school and everything, in college. At the time, she didn't realize how close I was to her, because this time I was in Sugar Land. God knows where the first foster home was located at. Somewhere in Houston. This one was actually in Sugar Land because I was in this one for a while. I got to go visit my little brother, which I found out he was no longer in a foster home. He was in the place for misbehaving young kids, which is called Devereaux. I guess that's what it was called. Don't even ask me to spell it. I don't even know how to spell it. But I remember us always having to either meet up with the caseworker, or the caseworker that we had at the time, which was a completely different person, would come and pick us up, or we would meet them somewhere and then drive all the way to Victoria to go visit my little brother, drive back, meet up with either the foster parents or get dropped off and everything. And then it would just be an ongoing process on the weekends, every weekend and everything. Found out that with this caseworker, she would actually do this out of her free time on her own, so we would be able to visit our little brother. It was real nice. Later found out she was pregnant, so she wasn't our caseworker anymore. We ended up getting a completely different person I don't think I don't even remember who my last caseworker was. I vaguely remember who she was. But, the bad thing about this foster home was that I found out the reason why I got held back in the 3rd grade was because the lady, my foster mother, decided that it would empower me to be held back a grade. So I was technically supposed to graduate in 2015 at 2016. But I guess if that never happened, I would have never met Michael. I would have never met all my friends that I have now and everything. I'd probably actually be a completely different person, or God knows what would have happened. But yeah, that's one thing you didn't know about me. Got held back in the 3rd grade. Didn't help either that I'm born in December of 96. So I swear I probably had to start school late because of when I was born, but who knows? I guess Harley decided to go back to her cage to sleep until I probably start crying again, but yeah. Yep, she heard me say her name, so she's coming. But, yeah. Didn't really like that foster home. I was so happy to leave it. I hated it so much. It may have seemed like I liked it, but that was because I had to tolerate it. Main thing from both foster homes, I ended up receiving some stuff but never actually got them because they were technically saying it belonged to them. First foster home, it was a cup that I received for doing something well, and they had like a little treasure chest and I got to pick something out of it. I just grabbed something at random. It was a cup. First foster home wouldn't let me take it. They were saying it belonged to them. Second foster home, I had some little bath bombs that were shaped like ice cream cones. Couldn't take it because they said they couldn't find it. But yeah. They basically, when you're in foster cares, whatever stuff that belongs to you, you better keep a close eye on it, because some foster parents or kids will end up saying it belongs to them, and then they won't believe the new kid and saying that they brought it with them. You'll never see it again. But yeah, so happy when found out I was leaving out of that freaking place. Like I said, I was in there for like 2.5 years as a kid. First thing my aunt did, I'm trying to remember. Was I in 3rd grade still? No. Wait. Yeah, I was still in 3rd grade. When me and my little sister moved in with my aunt. But yeah. My little brother was still in the system for a while. He basically grew out of it. My little sister, me and her got out of the system at the same time. First thing my aunt did after she was still in the process of adopting us, or me and my little sister at the moment, because my little brother, we couldn't figure out where he was and everything. But yeah. First thing she did was get my eyes checked, found out I needed glasses, and noticed there was a big improvement in my school grades after that. And then, sadly, they had me and my sister on medication. My aunt took me off of that, and all throughout elementary school and junior high and still part of high school, she would threaten to put me back on it because it was supposed to help me focus. That medicine was disgusting. It took me so long to figure out how to take that crap without getting the taste left in my mouth. But yeah. That medicine was disgusting. The ones that my little sister was on would just cause her to eat and sleep and gain weight. So we would always have to have her doing something to help her lose the excess weight. I think 2008 was when my aunt finally finished the adoption process for me and my little sister and everything. I don't know how long it took for my little sister to get put back in the system because of her anger issues as well too, but it was pretty weird. And it didn't help that once me and my little sister both were in junior high and everything, people realized she was my little sister and would come up to me and tell me when she was doing something wrong or tell me what it was she did wrong. I had friends in school, but couldn't hang out with them because they were all scared of my little sister. And I was too shy to actually go hang out anywhere or tell my aunt that, hey, can I go to this person's house, because most likely she'll be like, oh, you would have to bring your little sister. That's basically how it was. That's why I stopped going to school dances in junior high, because I had to take her. I hated it. I hated doing that so much because I couldn't be myself around my friends. I had to keep an eye on her, make sure she wasn't getting into trouble, make sure she wasn't going to get us kicked out of the school dance because she was up to no good, which she did get kicked out once, and I found out later because one of my friends came up to me and said, your little sister just got escorted by security out of the school. Like, really? Call my aunt on my little crappy phone I had at the time. Be like, can you come and pick us up? The dance isn't over yet. Well, you know who got kicked out, and they're saying that I can't stay inside with her being out there. But yeah, I couldn't stay because my little sister got in trouble. I hated bringing her anywhere I went because I couldn't hang out with my friends. I couldn't spend time with my friends because of her, or they were scared of her because she literally hurt people and everything. She didn't understand the concept of like, some of the things you do is actually painful, or it actually is painful. It's not playing around. It's actually truly painful that it can leave a mark on someone. But yeah. She eventually got kicked out of the junior high. Got kicked out of the school where they send kids who get kicked out of the regular school. They literally had to build a giant fence around another school that she went to because she would have the tendency to run out the building and into the main road, so they had to build a giant fence around it because of her. So happy she never made it to high school with me. Because I would have been like, I don't know that. I don't know who that is. To this day, sometimes I still act like that because I don't want to be associated with family members that are like that, where their anger issues kick in, where they're abusive to people. It's just not what I can deal with. Like, it took until 7th grade when my little sister was she was still living with me and my aunt at the time, but she was like pushing it to, she was like really on the fence about like literally she was on the fence to being put back in the system, which she later did get put back into the system because of her anger issues and everything, and it causing stress on everyone in the family. Like, it literally took until 7th grade for me. I think it was 7th grade. Yeah, 7th grade to actually start hanging out with friends and everything a little bit, like after school, but not too long enough to where I can actually still make it home, walking distance and everything after school. But 8th grade was truly when I actually started to be able to have friends come over, stay the night at their places, stay the night at their friends' places with them as well, who later would become my friend as well too. After 8th grade, my little sister was gone. Didn't have to deal with that. Could actually talk to my friends again. They would ask me about my little sister. I'm like, oh, that thing? Gone. That bit of stress is gone. She's still family and everything, but once my aunt gave custody over to her little sister, to raising my little sister, because they didn't believe how much of a little evil psychopathic demon she is when she gets into those episodes and everything. Sadly, it took until after their other older sister passed. It was my great grandma, and then their older sister, who was younger than my grandmother, to pass. And within those two, that's when they truly realized how vicious and, how do I put this, demonic my little sister is. They didn't believe me that that I can tell when she's lying, because she would smile, laugh. We gave her mean side a name. Can't really remember what it is, but I still call her a little demon child from those days, because that's basically what she was. because I think that was when she was off the medication, or even if she was on the medication, that's how it was. My little brother, oh dear God, 10 times worse, but even smaller at the time. Those old school TVs where you had to go up there and turn the dial, flipped it over with one hand. I think he was like 8 years old when he did that. Good thing the floor in the bedroom was carpet. But yeah, flipped it over one hand. Between those two, with their bipolar episodes, and then with my cousin being a rebellious teen at the time back then, you know for sure there was multiple visits from the city police to our house and everything. Last one I remember was the busted fish tank incident between my cousin and my little sister. My little sister picked up a box. We didn't know what was in there. I guess it was my aunt's exercise equipment, because that's what we found out later. Tried to throw it at my cousin, missed her, hit the fish tank, water starts gushing out. She runs out the door. Me and my cousin are literally running around finding towels, trying to pick up the water, calling her mom, trying to keep the fish alive as much as we could. And I guess this was like around the time, it was like almost around I know it was, I can't remember if it was a weekday or something, but I know it had to have been because she wasn't home. She was at work and everything, and it was still somewhat daylight out, and there was so much water damage to the floor. The water literally went through, like, it covered the living room, dining room, the hallway, kitchen, the back room. It was about to make it into my bedroom in the back of the house. I think it almost went into my aunt's bedroom. It almost made it to my cousin's bedroom. It almost made it to the bathroom. So, where my cousin's bedroom, the bathroom, my aunt's bedroom, it stopped in that hallway for that side, expanded throughout the rest of the house, living room, dining room, kitchen, back room, and then towards my bedroom and everything. But we found as much fish as we could. We kept making sure the cat wasn't out, because God knows that cats will probably eat fish and everything. I think the dogs were still outside, so they were going berserk because they were outside and all this stuff was happening inside and they couldn't figure out what was going on. But yeah. I guess that's it for that part. Because after that, my little sister got sent to my aunt's little sister's house. After the death of my great-grandma and their older sister, she got put back into the state custody, ran away from there, somehow made it back over to this side of town. Her and my little brother are both out of the system. They're staying with my mother, or with our mother, and everything. Things have changed for them. They both have jobs. My little brother recently got a car and everything. We all have, so far he's the only one with a car and a license. Me, I have a license but not a car. Don't know the situation with my little sister and everything. But after all that stuff from junior high, and then I'm not going to speak of high school from back then, but once I moved over here, everything changed. Well, some stuff changed, but yeah. There was so much stuff that has changed from the past. Sometimes just sitting here and thinking, stuff just changes so much, and it confuses me. Like, you don't know how close this could have happened or that could have happened. Like, I don't know how many times, if I can think about it, as a little kid, being a preteen, a teenager, and now I've had like so many near-death experiences, car accidents, stuff involving guns. Stuff involving knives and everything, trying to stand up for a friend. Like, so many things has happened that just one wrong move, everything could have been over. Like, as a little kid, I could have died in the car accident when I was little. Junior high, I could have either gotten stabbed or shot trying to keep one of my friends from getting into a fight with a gang member who was friends with my cousin at the time, or friends with my cousin's friend, or how do I put this? The person who was trying to fight my friend in junior high was a family member of my cousin's friend and everything. And they were older than us, and they decided, like, oh, let's pick on the younger kids and everything. My friend had such of a big mouth, almost got us killed. Had to end up having her little brother run to one of my friend's house close by to call their dad to come and pick us up, or get his friend's dad to come and pick us up and everything, because of what was going on. Like, we were closer to the high school, to the junior high, than to where we live. Like, between there is an elementary school and an ice cream shop. And we were at the elementary school, but the school was already out. So I could have had that happen. Once I moved over here in high school, junior year, there was an incident where me and a couple of students were walking from the bus stop, and people are so stupid. Car sped by. One of the kids randomly yelled, "Slow down." Car made a complete stop. Of all places, it would had to have stopped in front of my house when I was about to cross the street. A guy comes out, has a heavy accent, yelling at us, "What did you say?" Pointing a gun at us. I'm like at a complete stop, because nowadays you never know if the gun's fake or if it's real. The kid who yelled it was still walking. Me and another kid and his sister and another kid were just standing there, and he pointed at him. He's like, "What did you say, fatty?" He said, "It wasn't me, it was the other fat one." I somehow was able to laugh a little bit, even though I was terrified and everything. They eventually got back in the car and sped off and everything. The other two, the brother and sister that were with me, and the other kid stayed there to help me calm down, and I walked to the door, we waved goodbye, and I walked inside. Tried to call my aunt, she didn't answer. I texted her, I tried to call her sister, she didn't answer. So I just went back to I just sat there in the kitchen trying to calm down, trying to keep my heart rate low because it was going so fast that I felt like if I moved I would have passed out. And then all of a sudden I get a call from my aunt. She's like yelling and everything, like, you should have called the work phone and said it was an emergency. I didn't have her work number at the time. All I had was her cell phone number still, because I ended up getting a new phone at the time, and some things didn't transfer over. And it was just very stressful back then. And then a couple months back, when we first moved over here, there was a shooting in front of my job. Like, if I was let out, or if they waited until after I got off, I probably would have actually been hit by the bullets that were shot, because it was something gang related. And yeah, I didn't even want to go home. I was scared to even walk home because who knows what would have happened and everything. Still can't believe that it happened. Like, yeah. Being taken away from my family, given to the state, eventually making it back to my family, dealing with all this stuff as well. It was like, it basically made me shy. It made me extremely shy as a kid. I wouldn't speak up to anyone. I would only express my emotions through drawing, which my aunt would threaten to put me in therapy for, which when I was in therapy, the therapist and the school counselors both told me to just draw how I feel and everything. Doesn't help when you have someone literally going through your stuff, trying to make sure you're not sneaking things to school that's not supposed to be there. Sketchbook is something school related. It's art. And you shouldn't start tearing stuff out of someone's sketchbook that you don't approve of and everything. Like, you don't know, they probably do that to not hurt anyone like their siblings do, or their mother and everything. Which I later had to use the alternative of listening to music to calm me down, since my sketchbook was no longer a safe place as a teen and as a kid to express my feelings in, because people would invade it and start tearing stuff out, marking in it and everything. Start making fun of whatever I write or whatever I draw. Like, how would you like it if someone did that to you? How would you feel if someone was threatening to put you on medicine and in therapy because of you expressing things your way without using violence, without putting your hands on anyone and everything? Because nowadays people don't get that if someone's upset, there is multiple reasons why. They have their ways of coping with it. For me, it was drawing and listening to music. Eventually, it later became writing stuff out, making stories. The stories would never stick, so I stopped doing that, which I went back to just listening to music and drawing. And since I'm older now, dear God, my hiccups. I don't have to fear people discriminating how I deal with stress. Sometimes that's not enough. Like, to this day, every now and then, I will all of a sudden just have so much stress build up in me that I will start crying without knowing. Sometimes, like, even in my sleep, I will start crying without knowing. Or I will just randomly have a complete outburst and get mad for no reason at, like, the smallest, stupidest thing ever that you can think of, just because of how much stress is that I'm dealing with, that at this point I don't even know what I'm dealing with. But yeah. I'm gonna calm down and everything, and I am completely sorry of how long this has lasted, but I just had to get this off of my chest and explain a few things that has happened. But yeah. Have fun, be safe. This is me again, Alyssa, and I'm signing off. And I will catch you guys either in another vlog or in my gameplays and everything. But yeah. Bye.